Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news. Further details emerging as to exactly what's happened at Hamilton's first ever Ferrari crash at Barcelona over the last day or so. Reportedly it was at the final corner of the Grand Prix circuit. What is an equivalent crash we have seen in the past? How exactly did this happen? Was it the SF-25's problem? Was it Hamilton's problem? More detailed as well though elsewhere, certainly from the Red Bull side. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. First of all, apologies if there's any background noise or stuff like that and there's a bit of an echo in here. Currently tucked away in a room at, a tennis stadium in Madrid. I'm here for a Call of Duty event. It's actually not far from where the circuit is going to be here in Madrid. And of course, Hamilton's in Barcelona, not far from me right now, but I'm at a very different thing. So I'll do my best to get the content for you guys out as normal over the next couple of days. Starting with the following, this is Hamilton in his Ferrari gear. And as everyone knows, look, first of all, it's a darker red than we're used to, I would say. Everyone knows that the HP logo is not the most liked. I know that many people have said, why can't they do this other version of the HP logo? I guess they feel like it doesn't quite stand out enough. Okay, I get it, fair enough, it is what it is. But yeah, more great shots over the last couple of days. This also interesting, just on this general topic, this image that today Ferrari put out, I think they did a bit of a press thing on this as well. They came up with this, it is going to be the SF-25. So it was the F175 back in 2022, then it's been the SF-23, the SF-24, and now, as expected, it's the SF-25. Apparently, all of the colours that are going to be in the livery are visible here. So check this out, analyse it as you will. But these colours, as we can see, the lighter reds to the darker reds to the burgundies, apparently that is going to be, as we kind of predicted, to some extent, what the livery is going to be looking like next year. So definitely one thing to keep your eyes on there. We also have updates on Johnny Herbert. So we saw yesterday that he lost his gig with the FIA. They decided that him stewarding and also doing other things, media punditry stuff, was simply not really going to work. So he's gone, and he actually responded immediately. I think he's already got another gig, so whatever. It's not like he's out of a job exactly, but he did say, grateful for the opportunity, difficult job, tough decisions to be made. I think the general feeling from the fans was like, look, sure, Johnny Herbert maybe had his biases, had his perspectives, but it's not like other stewards don't. And you're probably not going to find that many stewards, certainly if you don't pay them, that fit the bill of being the perfect on-paper steward. So definitely an interesting one to keep your eyes on there, but Johnny Herbert did respond getting dropped by the FIA. Couple of Red Bull pieces of interesting information, I will say, because Horner was talking at the Autosport Awards, saying, go faster is the New Year's resolution, but there was some interesting details from Adrian Newey here. He actually said that, it wouldn't be true to himself if he stayed at the team, which was an interesting assessment, because it kind of seems like everything was going in his favour, or at least, the team was flying, the team was frying, and it felt like Newey, fit the system quite well. It seemed like he might stay there until, he was, of course, done with Formula 1. But not, of course, at all what we ended up seeing. And he even said, what I thought was kind of interesting, going past this image here of, let's say Pierre Gasly's new haircut. I know there's been lots of speculation on exactly which country he might have gone to achieve exactly what might have caused this. But Newey was talking about how he expressed his concerns on their development trajectory at the end of 2023. You guys probably remember in Miami 2024, when they first lost a Grand Prix that season, Newey actually said, this is just after he'd announced that he was leaving, he actually said there's one element of the car that he doesn't like. And, presumably he knew what that element was going to be before the car was built. That's the feeling anyway, that Newey had suggested that he wasn't very happy. Like, Red Bull had dominated 2023, but knowing what Newey's like, he was looking at the car and the trajectory they were taking and saying, look guys, this is something here is a problem. I don't know what it is. I'm not as smart as Adrian Newey when it comes to aerodynamics, but apparently he had told them that, look guys, if you do this, it's going to backfire at some point. And obviously there was massive controversy as to exactly what caused Red Bull's massive fall off in the middle way of 2024, because their car was still unreal at the start of that season. But apparently Newey had his concerns, and he expressed those concerns, and those concerns were not dealt with as he would have liked to have seen. And therefore, to some extent, he decided, all right, they're not going to listen to me, then they're not going to get my services anymore, and I'm going to be straight out of the door. And that seemingly is exactly what happens. But let's talk about the Ferrari situation. As I say, given the situation with this venue, I'm going to keep things briefer than maybe I normally would today. But Hamilton will be at Ferrari very shortly again, obviously he's at Ferrari now, for an SF-24 test for the Pirelli tyres. And this, of course, a pretty big deal. It's going to be a big test for Hamilton over just the next couple of days here. He's going to get to drive SF-25 the most recent Ferrari in that Pirelli test? It seems like the information, as we saw yesterday, was that the crash was actually at the final corner. So a couple of interesting things to note here, because it's not like drivers don't have minor crashes in tests. They do. But when it's Hamilton at Ferrari, it's a massive deal, it's a massive story, everyone's talking about it, obviously, and the potential implications. But the guys close to Ferrari say, this is really no big deal. Leclerc was not too disappointed. He'll be able to make up his allowance testing day slightly later on, but they couldn't run the car, I believe, as they wanted to for Leclerc because they had to make sure that it was all repaired, and it was probably quite extensively damaged. Now, it's no impact on the budget cap because it's to do with TPC testing of previous cars, but it does seem like the crash was at the final corner. So we looked at this yesterday, and I mentioned how turn 11 was a possibility. I didn't think it would be turn 12 because if you go off here, you're in the wall. One thing I didn't really mention was turn 13 because it's a very high-speed corner. My feeling was that if you go off there, you might save it, because Fernando Alonso did this. I think it was during qualifying a couple of years ago when he went off track. I think he damaged his floor and it screwed up his final run. Maybe it was 2023. But yeah, there was a time when Alonso went off here at the final corner and saved it, stayed on the track. But actually, that's not always the case. If you go off track at the final corner here, 11, you're almost definitely in the wall if you go off track. 12, you're in the wall, but you're in the wall very hard if you go off track, to the extent that the car is chalked, which is why I thought that turn 12 didn't seem as likely for Hamilton's crash, because I thought it would have totaled the car. Whereas turn 13, it's actually possible that he lost it a little bit, nearly saved it, but ended up just having a minor brush with the wall, basically, but a pretty significant brush with the wall at that. So that seems to be what happened here. It was the final corner, and there are some interesting instances of this in the past. I think there was this that I saw going around here today, which is Logan Sargent's back at 2023 FP3. Sargent turns into the final corner and then, well, hits the inside curb here. It takes it a bit too much. Now, there's a couple of ways you can lose the car here. One of which is there's a bit of a bump here, I think. I don't think this corner is perfectly smooth. And also, the SF-23 was known to be a bit of a diva at times. And it's not like the porpoising problems from 2022 were entirely eliminated for it. So it is plausible that Hamilton went in the final corner here, got a bit of porpoising, hit the ground, lost the rear, and was just off. And all it takes is that, right? So Sargent had this little snap, and he's off this way, but there's nothing he could do to save the car at this point, and he ends up in the wall quite hard, damaging the side of the car, damaging the suspension, whatever. So I don't know what happens, but if Hamilton lost the car there, something kind of similar might have played out in that manner. But yeah, reportedly it was the final sector, reportedly now the final corner, so some more details emerging on exactly what that is looking like. Now, they will run another test in Spain with the Pirelli tyres, it seems, and they are going to simulate Monza conditions. So this is particularly interesting. It seems that part of the reason they're doing this, Ferrari, is not even just prep for Hamilton for 2025, but is actually prep for 2026. So typically Barcelona, they call it, refer to it as Montmeo here, but it's the Barcelona track. It is usually a medium to higher downforce circuit. That is generally how it goes. And in this instance, they will be running much lower downforce than usual. I think that's probably because, as the article describes, they're looking for the 2026 cars. They obviously want to have some testing with the new Pirelli tyres. Hamilton can drive the most recent car, but they will run a Monza spec car because they expect in 2026 the cars are going to have significantly lower downforce than they presently do. So that will be a comparable setup to 2024 Monza spec cars. So it's going to be very interesting to see. The car's going to be rapid off the straight and it's going to be trickier to handle in the corners, but that apparently is what they're going to do, and they're going to lighten the cars as well to simulate the minus 30 kgs next year's cars will have, because they're similar size but lighter. So yeah, they're going to lighten the cars. They are going to run it with obviously lower wings, and Hamilton will have to get used to something probably quite different, to be honest, going into this test in just a couple of days' time. So very much into your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Just one final thing, we did get the next couple of driver rankings come through. George Russell did end up 4th in the race fans ranking, as I thought that he might. To me, it was either way. It could have been Norris maybe, but I thought more likely it was going to be Russell. So Russell gets fourth, just ahead of Piastri, ahead of Sainz. We saw the other drivers over the last couple of days. And third went to Lando Norris. So do you think this is fair? Of course, Lando was not third in the championship, but was he, the second best driver? Of course, he had his moments. I think the thing that kind of got to me for good and for bad reasons with Lando was that at the end of the season, once the pressure was off of the World Championship, Lando was on fire. The last few rounds, he had great Grand Prix, executed super well. And to be fair, it's not like there was no pressure on him at Abu Dhabi because he had to win, otherwise Ferrari winning the Constructors. So there was pressure, and he did deliver under pressure to some extent. But nonetheless, there was a noticeable difference in the quality of his race starts, the quality of his performances, once the driver's title pressure was off his shoulders. So I think the final few rounds showed how good Lando can be, but equally, under a driver's scenario situation, he was clearly a different driver than he was when the pressure was lifted off him, to some extent. So that is probably a concern, but it's not necessarily a concern that they could not resolve hypothetically. So that's pretty much where we're going to leave it for today. Very much interested your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.